This meeting of the Woodstock Town Board to order, and as it is our business meeting, stands to pledge the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, don't have any announcements today, so we'll jump right to resolutions. Be it resolved to accept the minutes for meetings held on February 20th, March 13th, and March 14th. Second. All in favor? Aye. Be it resolved to authorize payment of audited vouchers in the amount of $189,316.25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Be it resolved to accept town clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved to authorize transfer per transfer sheet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor of the town board and the highway superintendent to sign Highway 284 expenditure agreement for year 2018.
Second.
Any questions? This is basically just an agreement between us and the highway superintendent that we put money in his budget and he's going to spend it on certain things. So let's see. This year he plans to expend $389,000. He'll be doing up in my neck of the woods, Reynolds Lane.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Commencing at 212. I didn't see that before. Hutchinville, that will for a cost of $48,000. He will be doing Maury Hill Road, commencing at Sauk Hill Road at the large culvert, approximately a little less than 1 mile for $96,000. Then Wagner Road for a cost of $48,000, and the lower end of Abbey Road for a cost of $126,000 for a total of $389,000. So that's what he wants to spend his money on this year. Do you have a second?
I assume that they're going to do the Reynolds Lane after that box culvert goes in?
Correct. That's the plan.
Alrighty then.
So they'll commence from 212, go right over the... I think the contractor who does the box, I don't think they do it in one shot, actually.
Yeah.
I think he'll do, and then somebody will do the culvert, and then we remember having a conversation about that.
Yeah,
Bill, could you repeat the total again that you're going to spend?
The total is $389,000. And this is in the highway budget.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So while we're here,
Sign that.
we'll execute this. The 20th day of March.
It's over.
Would you sign that? Anywhere it says councilperson. Okay, let me just get Jay to
Hey, Jay.
sign that. Oh, just don't let us deal with
Yep.
it. Jay, the board has authorized itself and Mike Reynolds to sign the 284 agreement for this year, and it requires each of our signatures. So I'll let you take it.
Clock is fast.
We started. How fast is it?
A couple minutes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to turn that back. Lynn,
I'll be on the
tomorrow
chair.
you and I will be over. I'll come over with my cell phone and we'll synchronize it to cell tower time.
Okay.
Let it be known that Councilman Wink was not late, that we started early.
Okay.
And Jay, if you sign that and then give that to Lynn, and Lynn, if you could hold that, and I'll let Mike know.
Yes.
So, next, be it resolved to accept the retirement of Kathy Longyear effective March 24, 2018, and be it further resolved to recognize and thank Kathy for her many, many years of service to the court.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Be it resolved to hire Kathy Longyear as part-time grade 3 clerk at $20.45 per hour effective March 27, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I guess we want her back. So Kathy will be coming back part-time in her retirement.
And that is a good thing.
Yes. So I'm embarrassed. We're going to have to wait a while for this public hearing. But in the meantime, I'll offer one resolution. Be it resolved to appoint, and I have these names down, then I
Okay.
give you. Be it resolved to appoint Salvatore Altamirano Segura, Kerry Muldoon, and Anula Cortis to the Woodstock Human Rights Committee for terms to expire December 31st, 2019. And be it further resolved to appoint Laura Kaplan, Urena Kinlan, Frank Engel, and Bonnie Wagner to the Woodstock Human Rights Committee, terms to expire 12/31/2018, and be it further resolved to appoint Anula Cortis as their chairperson.
Excellent choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just want to wait, right?
Second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? I think we were all very, very happy at the outstanding candidates we got for this committee, and expect great things from them. So with that, all in favor? Aye.
We'll
Okay.
be starting up, what, April sometime?
They can all get sworn in and get started tomorrow.
And they'll meet once every. They have to meet a minimum of certain.
The resolution that created them, actually, while we're at it, we talked about this, about changing the name, just making an adjustment.
Commission.
So I'll just offer, be it resolved to amend the resolution creating the Woodstock Human Rights Committee to rename them the Woodstock Human Rights Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just that sounds a little better. I think we
They
all agree
can,
with that.
we kind of left it up to them, and let them get together, depending on their schedules, when they can meet.
The resolution that created the commission dictates they meet a minimum of 4 times a year,
Right.
and they meet once a year with the police chief. Other than that, they're free to set their own rules to meet as they see fit, and we've given them latitude in seeking out whatever projects, however they want to operate. So. And they'll basically report back to the Woodstock Town Board. So, since we've got a little time, quite a bit of time to kill, any announcements from the board?
A couple of people have asked me, where's the short-term rental committee? We have basically wrapped up our work. I'll ask the supervisor to contact the lawyer because we're still waiting for his response, and once that's done, we're ready to present to the board.
So I did speak with the attorney today, and he hopes in the next week or so to have a report back to us
Okay.
with some ideas. So I think this is something we could tentatively put on the agenda for April.
Yeah, that's what we had, when we reported in December, we talked about April, so if we can keep to that schedule, that'd be great.
Right. Okay. Lauren?
The TV station is,
Coming along?
yeah, we're getting a lot of input from Chase Pearson, and Jesse Jones is helping out, and we kind of bench tested a lot of stuff in there, which found out the problems weren't what people thought they were. Not the cameras, it's the cables.
Okay.
And so we're starting to price some of that stuff out, and then have another producers meeting and see if we can get everybody on board. It looks like we might have to close it down for a little while because A lot of people are suggesting we build like a little wall through there to make a booth to keep the sound from the often equipment out of the studio itself, which the geezers are willing to do the labor on that, so it's not that big of an expense.
Okay.
So it's working pretty well, I think. But
Okay.
you never really know.
No, that's for sure. Councilman Wenk?
Yeah, thank you. My health has been deteriorating, and for the time being, the only changes I am looking to effect here is that I want to give up my liaisons to the CSAC committee, the tree committee, the old folks committee.
The seniors?
Senior, thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
I am not looking at all to leave the town board work. I love it, and I'm going to stay here as long as possible. I'm getting good care at home. And I guess that's about it. Yeah.
Boy, the one time we have time to kill and you're short and sweet. I can't believe it.
Well, I just
No, that's okay. Deputy, do you have any comments? Any? Okay. Councilman Hepner, you brought up another?
Yes, next month, the next meeting, I hope. And this has been a change, and it's taken a little bit longer than I thought. Richard Quinn was the only Woodstocker killed in Vietnam almost 50 years ago this year. He was a medic. He didn't go to Vietnam to take lives. He went to Vietnam to save lives. He was killed when he was called forward to help another medic who had been severely wounded. In the process of trying to help that medic, he was killed. Richard Quinn was killed. They found him with his body draped over the other medic. For that, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, which is the second highest honor the country gives, just below the Medal of Honor. We had originally thought we'd look at the post office naming. That gets to be a rather lengthy process. And so we've turned our sights to naming a street after Richard. That street, when I've talked to most of the neighbors there, will be Hillcrest Avenue, which is the final stretch of the Memorial Day March. So and we just ordered today the signs for that street. So the dedication of all this will be Memorial Day at the end of May. Hopefully then in April we'll pass a formal resolution and present that to his family.
Okay. Fantastic.
Is there a moment more?
Yeah, you can have another moment.
A former illustrious citizen of Woodstock, I'm sure everybody remembers, Michael Paycutt, who hasn't been around here in a long time, has landed in Leeds, Massachusetts, and has decided to communicate with me, and frankly, I don't have the time, and I thought maybe somebody else would enjoy that.
I'll read through it once before I promise anything.
Well, I'll let you have first dibs.
Well, oddly enough, for some reason, Jeremy saved all of Michael Paycutt's newspapers,
So did Jackie.
and they now reside at the Historical Society.
I've got a couple more for you
Okay.
that I found in Jeremy's desk. Does the public have anything they want to talk about besides noise? Come on up.
Can I just ask what was happening with the TV, what's happening in the TV studio or whatever?
Sure. We're looking to use our budget on the TV studio to kind of streamline it, get it simplify it. There's like a million different pieces of equipment stacked up in there that are tied into each other, and we can trim that down quite a bit. The cameras are all working. A lot of it's working fine. We want to bring in a new computer that will also be able to stream and do graphics and a lot of other stuff. We think we're working out in our budget to build a wall with a window in it, keep the producers and the studio separate. Communication system between the producers and the camera people. Light bars with LEDs, some different colors, different. So we're working that way. I've been working with Chase Pearson's been very, very helpful, and Jesse Jones is working with us, and Councilman Hefner, and so we're getting close to, we're pricing stuff out now. There's a guy in the Yukon, I believe, that makes software, which we can get much cheaper. He does it just for public access television. That will do a lot of the stuff we need done. So Jesse's in communication with him. And like I said, we got us pretty soon, when we get some prices back and see if we can afford to do this, then we're going to put together another producers meeting. And I think, like I said, we're probably going to have to close it maybe for a month, but we could still hook up the carousel somehow. And so it's coming along. So
who's actually, I don't really know, who's actually in charge of like putting
Well,
on the shows and stuff?
Ellen Pogill does most of the scheduling and stuff like that.
Oh.
And I don't know who does any of the mechanical stuff in there anymore. I think that's part of the problem. We don't really have anybody. So I don't think it'd take us a whole month to do this, but then we would have time to train everybody on the new systems before we turn it loose and let it fly.
Do you think they'd be open to like putting more stuff on there? Say like sort of like what Saugerties has on their public. They have like a calendar of events.
Well,
and sort of
hopefully,
have
what
things
we're hoping to do is get the scroll back on there, so you know what's on when.
Oh, right.
And years ago, it used to have just an audio of the weather, which would be kind of cool to get something like that. And this new computer supposedly will be able to do all that. Plus, it'll be able to be remotely accessed from the supervisor's office or dispatch. So in times of emergency, we'd be able to get information up on the TV. So we're looking to make some pretty positive changes, and it's coming along. I mean, it's not. Honestly, I can't go any faster than I'm going because I don't really.
I'm just trying to get it. I just always wondered about what went on there and how.
Yeah. So they're always, but everybody always wants to get younger producers, more producers in there. There's a lot of dead airspace, and I think if we streamline this down and get some more technical stuff where they can do graphics with it, and we've got a better chance at getting some younger producers in there.
You're welcome to sign up and produce a show. Because the town doesn't control.
If I knew how I would. I have no.
Well,
That's part of the training now.
There's a number of folks who'd be happy to show you how, and the town doesn't. We're not involved in the content at all. We just provide the studio, and
Sorganies runs a much, almost, I guess, stricter ship. They actually have somebody who oversees content and things like that.
You can actually, I remember when I lived in Saugerties, you can actually keep it on, and I mean, there's stuff going on all the time there, and then they have a show in between. And I mean, I know when I go on vacation, sometimes the towns will have like an informational station, and it kind of tells you where things are, and I'm just wondering if maybe we could kind of.
well, we are looking to
Eventually.
update the calendar and update so we can have a scroll and remotely access it for emergencies. Speaking of emergencies, I just want to remind folks again, as we face another nor'easter tomorrow, just remind folks that in the event of a power outage, if you need a warm place to go, you should contact or go to dispatch. Dispatch will open up, if even one person shows up, we'll open up the courtroom for a warm place to stay. Now that's not really set up for folks overnight, although you can sleep in the chair there. But if it gets to that point, then what we would do is contact the Red Cross and the county and they would help facilitate opening up the community center where we could have a shelter. Or in some cases, where it affects multiple towns, the county or Red Cross will set up down in Kingston or various places. Actually, I think it was the last storm last year, they set up down at the community college. So, but dispatch is always the first place to go, either call or walk in there, and they'll have the latest guidance. The other thing, again, is if the power does go out, check on your senior neighbors. It's really critical. And I will also remind folks, both seniors and their neighbors, that all you have to do is call dispatch. We keep a list of folks who like to get a call during these events, just to check up. And if the lines do go down, frequently we'll send out the police or the medics when they have time to check up on these people. So just give us names, give us the information, and again, dispatch is really the headquarters for events like this.
Are there any plans to finish up other details at the community center, like the exercise bar that the seniors have been asking for in the big room?
I will ask Al about that. He's in charge of that, and I know.
The water control on the roof over the stairs.
The gutters, I think they've all been put in place.
I haven't been there for a while.
I believe overall the entrances, gutters have been put up.
Very good.
I believe that Al is in discussion with the highway department about working on getting that door cut for the handicapped ramp. The money's there to do that, so
Good.
we just need to get Mike and Al to schedule some time for that.
Okay, Bill.
How are you?
All right, I'll step up.
I started a little early. My cell phone tower said I was on time. But anyway, I don't know what the announcement about the sound ordinance was or whatever that's going on. I haven't heard about
We
that.
are going to have it at 7. You're welcome to talk about it, but at 7:30 we're going to have a public hearing.
Okay, 7:30. Very good. The other thing, since we have a minute or two, I've been following very closely the microwave pollution that is really coming down the pike in a big way. And I don't know how educated you guys are about microwaves. If you're military, any of you military, you should have some base knowledge about microwave and what that means. The 5G rollout that is fast coming down the pike is serious trespass on biological systems. The 5 gigahertz systems are at a range of frequency or a range of wavelength that rotates water molecules on its axis. And what does that mean? It means that's what happens in your microwave oven. So when these microwave emitters are put on every other phone pole or every phone pole, depending on the density of the population, we will be cooked. So this is not science fiction. This is not alarmism. I don't know what your position is on microwave in this town, but as a person who works in the TV studio as well, the microwaves in there could be problematic as this 5G system really gets entrenched. This is not something to ignore. This is a serious health impact that's going to really harm a lot of people. And this microwave weaponization of microwaves is a real thing. You can look on it. Like I said, all you military or former military guys should already know a lot of this stuff, but the general public really needs to know the impact on reproductive systems, or on the impact of neurological development of our children in the school systems, and sleep pattern disruption at home. This is big stuff, and it's so many negative health impacts, cancers and so on. So, really study up, and I would like to hear from the town council here at some point a position statement on what they feel or what is going on in terms of these 5G rollout. I also know that it's come to my attention that the Dutch Reformed Church may be putting emitters in the
Not true.
steeple.
No.
So there's talk of that as well.
Okay. So let me address your concerns.
Sure.
First off, I don't know that we've come up with an exact position paper on where we are with 5G. What we did do, though, the governor has put in his budget a rollout of 5G, which would allow, which would take control of the placement of these antennae away from the local communities. It's a loss of home rule.
Right.
And this town board last week passed a resolution authorizing the supervisor, me, to reach out to any and all appropriate state officials to stop that. So there were, I have the list over in my office, but there were a half dozen state senators, including George Amador, who's our state senator, who were called. The Assembly had already taken it out of their bill. Kevin Cahill and I had conversations about that. It was taken out of their budget proposal.
Very good.
The Senate did the same thing. Now it's up to the governor,
Right.
and it is conceivable that he could override with a veto. But I can assure you that he's getting a lot of pressure from communities because this is really, it's a home rule issue. He's taking this control away from us, and we don't feel that that's appropriate.
Yeah, it's very similar to the New Mexico model. Yeah.
Now, with regard to the church, I did speak with their pastor today. About a year and a half ago, one of the cell companies reached out to them to have a conversation. The church elders had a discussion about it and decided one of them would call them back. They've never heard from them since. So
Okay.
there's no discussion going on. It was a phone call a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And that would all have to go through our planning process were it to happen. So I can assure you there wouldn't be an antenna popping up there overnight out of the blue.
Okay.
It would go through a planning process.
Well, I'm glad you're on top of it.
Yep. Thank you. And yeah.
Just back to the television station.
Yes.
Since we're here.
Sure.
You know, Lauren, Chase mentioned that it would be great to coordinate and get some of the youth to maybe produce some shows in the television station. Mm-hmm. And while he doesn't want to be the one person to solely coordinate that, it could be something that I've actually never been over there. So it could be something we could think about, just
Oh, that would be
something for our
great.
youth to maybe do some internships and to rotate. Kind of, you know, if we had some people that are trained, I just turn my remote on and off. So I'm not a producer or anything
You know
like
which
that.
end to
but-
point at the TV?
Yes, I do.
All right, so you're halfway there.
You're as good as I am, then.
You know, and I'll tell you that we have the youth center right there.
So it was just a great opportunity.
Frequently, I've almost come to begging that if they could get some interest, I'd love to see, the youth put on take an hour, take a show, concerts. I mean, my hope was that they would be utilizing the community center more too, and putting on shows, taping these shows, and putting them on the television. So.
Right, and we definitely have enough people, I think, in town if we maybe coordinate and reach out.
And I'm sure there are a number of producers, there's 2 or 3 of them here tonight. I'm sure a few of them might be interested in chipping in and helping out. So that would be fantastic. Anybody else have any other topics? Town topics? It's your chance. It's 7:30? Oh my God, we talked that long?
It is 7:27.
That's
It is, it's
actually
7:27.
that's actually the official clock.
Official clock is
Another minute.
We could do the pledge again.
Jay, do you have one more minute you could kill?
I could tell.
No jokes.
Why?
Oh, the last one almost got us in trouble.
This guy that was trying to get a job and he couldn't get hired, and you don't want to hear the rest of it.
No. Is it clean?
I don't know. No, of course not.
some water really quick.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Was it a bust?
I understand, and actually the chief is here. I don't know, there was a big bust today. Is there anything you want to talk about with regard to that? I know it was... come on up for a minute, Clayton, and give us a report. How are you, Chief?
Very good. You want to report on?
Well, I do. I understand there was a press release on a big arrest that was made.
Yeah, that was actually a drug arrest that happened over the past week to 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was in our village. It was one of our larger. He was a marijuana, supplier.
Mm-hmm.
And he supplied other drugs. With our cooperation of Urgent. In the sheriff's department. They did a real lengthy investigation. Several buys, and they did a search warrant about 3 weeks ago, and it wasn't made to public knowledge till the second individual was picked up just recently.
Mm-hmm. And my understanding is now Urgent in the press release. There's 20, 25 individuals.
Yes, throughout the county.
The last couple of weeks.
But the two that were local,
Mm-hmm.
In the Woodstock area, but they all travel, from one jurisdiction to another.
Right. Right.
So it's not.
So there's the benefit of Urgent. It brings.
I absolutely, fully 100% support them. Have a meeting with the sheriff's department Thursday. We have annual meetings. And it's very, very productive.
Okay, excellent.
It seems like it's a slow process. Dealing with a drug issue, but in order to have a good case that sticks, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
Can you reveal the names of the two local people arrested?
One is Bo Hirsch.
Bo? B-O, like Bo?
Yep, B.O.
Send her the release. Send her the release.
Actually, I can email you the press release later if you want.
Yeah, because it's made available to the public.
Yeah,
It's out there.
It's a press release, so it's out there.
You might actually recognize some of the other people also.
Right. All right. With that, Lynn, I will ask you to read the public announcement.
The legal notice in the Woodstock Times on March 15th at a town board meeting held on March 13th, 2018. The town board resolved to schedule a public hearing on local law number 1 of 2018, noise ordinance, for Tuesday, March 20th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. at the town offices.
So before we take public comment, I just want to say a couple of things. One, this is not directed to any one individual or any group. We're not trying to kill music in town. Actually, I think we're all very happy to see a resurgence in music in town. But we do get complaints from time to time, both with late music and with the short-term rental business. The town presently has in our zoning law a little paragraph that talks about decibel levels. That law has to be enforced by the building inspector, and unfortunately most of these noise issues are in the middle of the night. So for the town to enforce it, it would get very costly getting the building inspector up and out, and it also requires the use of a sensitive noise meter. So we actually, I thank the chief. Last fall, I guess it was, he went out and looked at a couple of communities in Ulster County who were dealing with noise as well, and he came back with a couple of laws. And this one that we're starting with is from the village of Sorgeties. And the Sorgeties police chief says that it's worked pretty well for them. This law will be enforced by our police department. It's not the intention of the town board to see our police go out and write a lot of tickets. It's going to be a tool to remind people occasionally when it gets a little loud and gets a little late. And with that, I will open it to the public.
Well,
or you want to add
board
something?
want to add it? Okay. This is, keep in mind, this is a template. This is where we're starting. We can add, we can subtract, we can do whatever the public consensus seems to be. Don't think this is gospel or written in granite.
Or is it going to be adopted tonight?
Or is it going to be adopted tonight?
Lauren, did you want to add? Okay.
Not right at this minute.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go in order. We're going to give everybody 2 minutes initially, and then we'll go all around the room and then come back. So you have the floor first.
I'm sorry, Bill, you think we should have people, I don't know if it's going to take too much time to
The
come
mic
to
is
say
over there.
everybody.
No, absolutely. Yeah, come up.
Yeah.
please state your name?
Yes. I wrote this because my name is Eleanor Steffen. I'm nervous. My late husband was an active participant in the music and art life in Woodstock since 1955. As a single mom, I raised two musicians in a Queens apartment from junior high through high school and on through the Juilliard School of Music. Their instruments were tuba and double bass. We never had a noise complaint. I have lived at 47 Rock City Road for 25 years. I refer to my location always as being a townie. I'm a townie because of the close proximity. We're 12 feet separate from our next door neighbor. Almost 2 years ago, the population of 4 young female attendants changed from female to male, along with some basic drumming. I was very friendly. This drumming escalated in intensity to include amplified sound keyboards and live drumming with amplification. It has reached the point of my feeling attacked and really bombed. During this time, I tried to be friendly, made a framed drawing for them, asked if we could discuss a schedule. It didn't work. I stuffed my closest windows with dog mattresses and sealed them shut with large paintings. It didn't work. My health has deteriorated sharply, including a recent heart attack. I never know if I can read, nap, or relax because it's prior to 11 p.m. However, I've called the police throughout. They've been very helpful, except recently when at 11:30 p.m. they came and the noise stopped. And at 2:30 in the morning, I was reawakened by the noise again. And the police said, we cannot come again. Let's just see. The bass rocks through every wall of my home, and the noise enters through all the walls. My spirits lifted when I heard that 2 other neighbors had also complained, and that one of them had called the police as well as me. And they are 2 houses down. I am the closest. The police have been my ally, but always explained to me that their power was very limited. I called the owner in Brooklyn, who used to be my friend. He told me they pay their rent on time. They were not disobeying any laws, so he would not stop a thing. I have a fear factor. I'm a woman living alone. These young men go up on the roof and wave to me. I'm afraid. My suggestion in reading what was going to happen tonight was that tickets are fine, but I would think the ticket should go to the owner, their renters, so that he knows. And I did see on Facebook that a new music venue in town has opened, and it was their address. I asked them, they said, oh no, we just have people come over. I said, if it's to the public, I should come too. But my life has been a total shambles. One of my friends is here who recently took me out. She heard it, and she said, oh my goodness, it's horrendous. And she couldn't believe how long I have suffered with it. And I'm sick from it. I'm physically and mentally done. That's my story and why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Felicia Kutchik, not speaking as a member of any organization or company or group. And while I think that you can't have total anarchy, as you know, we've seen and heard, you need to tighten this law up a bit. There are some parts here, for instance, in prohibited acts, you start with A, no person with intent to cause public inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm, or recklessly creating, etc., unreasonable noise. For purposes of this chapter, unreasonable noise is any disturbing, excessive, or offensive sound that disturbs a reasonable person of normal sensitivities. That seems to be okay at the outset, but then I'm wondering about what about speakers on the village green, whether just speaking aloud or whether, in a soapbox fashion, or whether it's part of a Occupy style mic check where you have a group of people gathered around repeating phrase by phrase what a person's speech is. That should be a First Amendment protected thing, and this should not be a law that abridges that. And especially further on it says, in exceptions, permit for public assembly or other relevant permission. Now, somebody doing a soapbox speech should not, even if they don't have a box to stand on, should not be required to have a permit or permission in order to start that. And the same goes for protest marches and things of the like, which should be protected speech. Now, then in 4 under prohibited acts, it says excessive or unreasonable level of noise from any live music or sound reproduction system. Maybe that could be amplified live music, or playing any radio, portable radio, tape or similar device that produces amplified sounds in such manner as to be heard over any property line. I noticed there's no limitation to that prohibited act with regard to place or time. Because if somebody's playing guitar with a guitar case open in front of a store that they say has permission, obviously you can hear it in the next store, even if it's unamplified. And if that's something during the day, this being a music town, that should not be something that's prohibited. So there should be like that 4 paragraph, if you want to call it that, under prohibited acts, should have some sort of like place and time, or at least time where that applies and when it doesn't apply. And
Felicia, if I could just address that for 1 second.
Yeah.
And again, I want to be clear to everyone here.
even if your intent is not that, future administrations.
Understood. But we and maybe we need to tighten it up more. I'm not debating this issue with you,
Right.
but I do want to point out we talked about excessive or unreasonable limits. So that does not preclude. I know there's one fellow who plays Beatles out in front of
Candlestick.
where is it?
Candlestick.
And again, I would never consider that excessive or unreasonable, and I don't think anybody would. So again, maybe we do need to tighten this up, but certainly, we're working towards that goal.
And
So I'm
then
sorry.
when it comes to exceptions, under E it says completely accepted no matter what time or place, noise generated by the installation and maintenance of utilities. I would put in front of that noise generated by the emergency repair, installation, and maintenance of utilities. Otherwise, you can have a utility company coming in at like 3 in the morning just because they think it's most convenient and creating havoc for people trying to sleep. And that's about all I have to say on that.
They usually don't come in unless it's an emergency at 3 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning.
Well,
Yeah.
usually because they don't want to pay overtime at night for anything.
Or yeah.
But still, I think it should be, a wording that's more
They have one tomorrow.
Okay. Second row.
The guy plays Beatles, that's okay.
What?
If the guy plays Beatles, that's okay. If he plays Bobby Goldsboro, that's a big problem.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Robbins. I actually wasn't planning to speak, but I am a friend of Ellie's, and in fact, I lived at 18 Rock City Road. And luckily for me, it was a rental, so I could bail. And we moved in, about a month before the Colony opened. And when we were told what the venue was going to be, it sounded pretty cool. I understand Woodstock is a music town. I mean, I'm from New York City. That's a music town too, and that's a loud city. So my best friend would come up would travel 2 hours each way just for 2 days up here, to the point where she couldn't sleep. Like the music from the colony was psychotically loud. And I'm somebody who went out every night. That's like from a teenager to through my 20s. We went over there, and they said that 2 o'clock was when they were going to be done. And then one night they were playing hip hop until 2 o'clock, and we were like, okay, now we can go over there and tell them stop. 2 o'clock, they said we have till 4 o'clock. And it literally was, we couldn't sleep. I mean, you could feel it in your chest. We went inside, couldn't even talk to each other because I couldn't hear my own voice. So it got to the point where I was lucky, unlike some people who own their homes, I can pick up and go, and I did. I do not know what I would do if I owned that home and had been promised, as the owner had been promised, that was not going to be the kind of venue it was. And our hands were totally tied. My right to calm and I come from New York City to get away, to get quiet, to calm down. And I literally moved into something that was worse than the traffic on my own street in Manhattan.
Is this summers, winters, year-round?
We moved out in, when? Yeah, like at the end of, after, it was after Christmas, it was after the summer.
Okay.
So it was after,
so even into
we
the
thought,
fall.
oh, well, the summer will end and then it'll didn't calm down. Okay. It did not calm down. We were offered free passes, like I care, I want to sleep. That's what I want to do. And when I was at Ellie's house to pick her up, I was stunned at how loud that music was next door. And I say that as someone who is 40 years younger, and still I thought, oh my God. And I didn't know that this had been going on this long. I could not have put up with it this long. I didn't put it up, I didn't put up with it for that long. So there is an issue, and I think that something like, I understand Woodstock's a music town, but it is also a place where people come to relax and calm down and have a much more peaceful life. And that's not, there's nothing about that experience that was peaceful. It was a nightmare for us. And we moved
because of it.
We moved.
Harmonious.
Yeah, it was, what is it?
Harmonious.
It wasn't harmonious for us. It might have been harmonious for them, but it wasn't. So I'm here as somebody who believes that a person's right to calm and peace and serenity is just as valuable and just as important as someone's right to play music in a music town. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Anybody else in the second row? Third row? Come on up, Bill.
Chief, keep
please.
it down, Chief.
We have,
Excessive noise.
shh, that is excessive.
Sorry.
Excessive and
It's okay. Yes, that's what I was saying.
inconvenience.
You hear it?
Duff, did you want to say something?
No. I have a seizure.
Is somebody coming up? Oh,
2 minutes?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
45 seconds lost. So, what I hear a lot of is, I'm really sorry to hear. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are, behind the pole. It sounds dreadful, perfectly dreadful. But what I'm also hearing is what are really adverse effects on the community. And these are unfortunate, I think, anomalous kind of occurrences. But I think, too, the thing is to say, as I heard as this was being brought up, are what are the root causes of this noise? How did this even come about, this whole issue, Woodstock with music and stuff like that? And what I heard at the beginning was this whole issue of short-term rentals and that sort of commerce. And they have definitely, with the noise and the blaring lights and the speeding cars, had an adverse effect on the community. I know from having gone over the 2017 community survey pretty carefully, pretty closely, that that most of the residents in this town, they want quiet. I mean, they're here, we live here because of the natural surroundings and the sense of community. And these are the sorts of things that are really blowing the community, really having an adverse effect on it. And I know that there's all these committees and negotiations about what to do with this short-term rentals, but for my money, that's really the root. That's the root cause of it. And I know that these things are in the works, but I really feel that as our elected officials, it's your duty to uphold the will of the people as represented in the 2017 community survey, which wants peace, which wants quiet, which wants a tranquil
That's why we're here
life, which
tonight.
wants serenity. And one of the major steps in doing that is to abolish altogether people who simply own their homes and rent them out. I'm not talking about people who have a house and they're making a little bread.
This is a public hearing on the noise, so let's stick to that.
Root cause. The question is, what is the cause of the
But we're
noise?
really here to talk about what this law says and how we could improve it.
But we also need to, I think about the origins of this. I mean, you've got these guys driving Eleanor crazy. So you have to create a law so that there's not an adverse effect on her personal life, which there is. I think we need to widen the scope and say, what can we do so that there is not an adverse effect on the community of the town itself?
Okay, but we are talking about this two-page law right now.
And so am I.
Okay.
So am I. So, there are other people who wish to speak. I don't want to take up any more time. But this is my thoughts on it.
Thank you.
All about noise,
Thank you.
our community. So if anybody else would like a copy of my thoughts on what's going on, this noise is a community. Other thoughts, noise?
Anybody in the fourth row? Come on up.
Anybody like to comment?